Welcome to Rapid Fire Insights, the show where curiosity meets velocity. I'm your host, Dave McCall, here with my co-host, Chris Hanna.
Hey, Dave, I think we've got a really good episode coming here. I'm excited about this one.
Oh, yeah. Our guest today is Gavin Michael Booth, TV director, film director, video director, actor. If it has to do with the film industry, he's got his fingers in just about everything. He's a local Windsor guy here, so it's really great that we have him here. And I think we should bring him on and hear what he.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's bring him to the stage. There we go. Gavin, welcome.
Good to be here. Good to be on the show. Yeah.
So, Gavin, as I was just saying, you have quite a history with TV, film, video. What got you into? I mean, what is it that drew you into film? Were you always a film person, or is it something that you just developed over, as you got older?
Yeah, what's that origin story there for you that got you down this path?
I was but a young boy in Amherstburg, Ontario, when I saw my first film. Yeah, no, I grew up in Amherstburg, which for anybody outside of the Essex County area, I always describe it like Luke Skywalker describes Tatooine. If there's a bright center to the Hollywood universe, Amherstburg is the furthest planet from. There wasn't the internet yet. There was no way to connect with other filmmakers and things through social media. Really, I loved movies. The Star Wars movies, E.T., the Indiana Jones movies were all amongst like the first movies I saw as a child, and just kind of fell in love with it. So I started off just making stop motion videos with my little Lego figures and Star Wars action figures. My dad's a photographer, so we had a dark room in the basement. I was always around cameras. We had a home video camera that I loved playing with. And then I used to rent. Back in the day when you could rent like a camcorder because it was an expensive thing. You'd rent it for to film your kid's birthday party or whatever. My friend Troy Schwager and I would save up our paper route money from the Windsor Star and rent the video camera every weekend from the local video store and just go off and mostly dumb parody movies like Friday the 13th Part 27 or Indiana Jones, The Lost Remote Controller, and just kind of got obsessed with making movies. And it was just a pure hobby. There was no pressure. There's no organization behind it. It's just something that I found on my own and kind of fell in love with. And then once I hit high school, I was at General Amherst High School, and they, a lot of teachers would say, okay, you can write a 1,000-word essay or you can turn in like a 3-minute video. I was like, I'll do the video. And just started making things like almost like the video yearbook for the school. Kind of got interested in doing that kind of stuff. And just when I left high school, I think I want to be a writer and a director. I don't know how to do that. I'm going to just keep fumbling in the dark until I figure it out. But it was also the era of when I was finishing high school, sort of the era of Kevin Smith and Robert Rodriguez and these filmmakers that were taking 25 grand or 50 grand and making their own independent movie. And it was like a renaissance in independent film. I was like, I think I want to try that. Foolishly, I think I want to dump money into like learning by failing.
Yeah. So here's a question. How did you choose what project you got into? I mean, you were just starting. Was it by, the script? I mean, did you write your own or did you contact other people who wrote? How did you get into the, the decision part of it?
What's the Robert Downey Jr. line in Tropic Thunder? I don't read the script. The script reads me. No, I had always been writing. In high school, I started trying to learn how to write screenplays. And again, very limited access to, there weren't, especially in Windsor, like the Chapters bookstore, there weren't a lot of how-to books on screenwriting yet. Like all that would come later. There was barely the internet, So I discovered a website in the late 90s called Drew's Scriptorama, which I think still exists. It was just an archive of like PDFs and text files of screenplays. So whatever was coming out, if Titanic was coming out and they had the script there, I would read the script before I went to see the movie. Or movies like Shawshank Redemption, I would take all my favorite movies that I could find the script for, read the script and rewatch the movie and just start to figure out the comparison between the two. So again, learning by failing, just trying. I've always loved writing short stories and And I guess at the core, I only wanted to be a writer, not a director and an editor and sometimes cinematographer. It just all fell into that
Sure.
because, again, there was nobody else around to call or ask to come take part in this. It was not like now I post on Facebook, I want to make a short film. Who's interested? Like who's got the gear? Gear was far less affordable back then as well. So it's really just the first projects were always trying to, which I still do today, is like write for the budget I think I can raise, or a way to make something that I don't have to wait around for years and years to raise multiple millions of dollars, because that just means I might not make a movie for another decade in that pursuit. So I like to always have smaller budget things that, yes, I have some larger budget projects I'm constantly pitching, but I like to have something in between to be able to work on.
And is there a genre that really speaks to you? I mean, are you across the board, or is there one particular genre that really, your heart's set on?
No, I mean, I guess just straight character drama. Like all of my favorite movies are, like I mentioned, The Shawshank Redemption, movies like October Sky and Stand By Me and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, like all these great sort of character studies, and a lot of stories about youth, right when they're on the cusp of becoming adults or figuring out life for themselves. But I kind of play in all genres. I've done a couple horror movies. I've done experimental drama. I'm editing a sci-fi movie that we shot a few years ago right now. I just shot I guess it's a rom-com. I call it an unromantic comedy that we shot in February in LA. So I do like all genres. It's weird to me when people try to like label film. Some people have like John Carpenter's The Master of Horror, that goes with the brand. But, I do try to remind people, I'm not trying to compare myself to Spielberg's talent, but Spielberg made Schindler's List and Jurassic Park in the same year.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if you look
Right.
at the wealth of his film catalog, there are so many different styles and tones. They all have his like flavoring and his style put on them, but he's worked in all genres.
Well, I know that you kind of like to push the edge on new stuff.
Mhm.
You were working with Blumhouse on 15,
Yeah.
which was a first for them.
Yeah.
Um,
It was the world's first live movie. I had put it was, it was just a cell phone at the time. And what was the app? Periscope had just come out. So that was the first. Twitter owned it. It was the first like live stream app where anybody could like, hey, I'm going to do a live cooking blog. I'm going to like, a band could say, hey, take your phones out and film us from the front row and put us on Periscope. And I kept saying like, man, somebody should do like a theater on this. And my wife's like, yeah, you could do like a Blair Witch movie. Like you could do live theater on that. And I went, yeah, you could, which means we should do that and not wait till someone else does
Somebody
it.
else does.
And at the time, I was lucky enough to have a relationship with Blumhouse to take it to them and say, I kind of want to do this. And they were in right away and understood, we were trying to do kind of the idea of 15 is a serial killer who's using the live stream app to broadcast his murders and taunting his audience by saying, you have 15 minutes to figure out where I am, or I'm going to kill these people you see through the window here. And it was broadcast in that like a slight sort of War of the Worlds presentation where we didn't really tell anybody it was a movie. We just did it one night
Right.
and let the public believe that they were watching something unfold in real
And
time.
I was reading
Wow.
some of the comments that were being said there. Somebody called the police, and
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was actually an amazing experience to watch. It really was. Now I know that you just did another one too, and I'm sorry I'm blanking out on the name, but you were filming in two locations simultaneously.
Last Call. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, how did that come about?
Last Call, David Wilkins, who stars in the movie, produced it with me, wrote it with me. He came to me with the core idea in a coffee shop in Los Angeles. We were just having a regular Wednesday meetup that he would organize. And a friend of ours, Katie Featherstone, she's most famous for doing the Paranormal Activity movie. She's like the girl in the first Paranormal Activity movie. And she had recently become a volunteer crisis worker at a mental health hotline, a 911 kind of suicide call line. And David had this idea. David's a very funny comedic actor. At that point, he was best known for the Doritos time machine commercial you might have seen. It won the Super Bowl
Yeah.
commercial. I think it was called Crash the Super Bowl, make your own Doritos commercial. So he had this idea to make it a dramatic role for himself because he was always seen as this comedic actor. And in real life, he's very funny. He's a big goof, but he had this idea and he knew that I liked single take movies. He knew that I liked, I had done some single take shorts, single take music videos. And he said, what about an idea of a man who's attempting to call a suicide hotline and the operator on the other end of the phone answers and we're seeing and living in that in real time? And then we put together the idea of what if it's split screen so you can see both sides of that phone call and never break from it. So that meant by the time we moved away from it being an operator and it being just a random citizen, this woman who happens to be a night janitor at a college who thinks her son is calling, when she answers the phone, realizes this man who's suicidal has dialed the wrong number by one digit because he's been drinking, and does the right thing and stays on the phone with him. So the way we shot it in Windsor is we had two different camera crews in two different parts of the city, one following her, one following him, and they're acting live over a real telephone call. And when we yelled action, we filmed the entire movie in that take until we yelled cut.
Wow.
So what you're seeing is 100% no hidden cuts. No, we didn't shoot her side of the film first and then his side. It is an authentic, like, double camera crew shooting the same movie simultaneously.
See, that's
wow,
genius.
the complexity there, like that, like as a director to sit there like, okay, you have the two things happening together and then trying to like make sure everything's lining up perfectly. Like that's incredible.
It was. I often joke that the gray hairs I have on my head and my beard now did not
Came
exist
from that?
pre last call. Yeah.
Now, speaking of movies in Windsor and filming in Windsor, Windsor gets, I feel anyways, I'll speak for myself. Windsor gets a bum rap for movies.
Mhm.
If a movie is done in Windsor, it's kind of like, oh, well, it's just a Windsor movie. I know that it's more than that. I know it's more than that. Can you make some comments on the film industry in Windsor for our viewers and listeners? Kind of, fill them in on that what's going on here.
I think it's the arts in general in small towns. It's in small cities. It's probably not exclusive to Windsor, but the idea that something here is lesser than what Hollywood or what a professional band could do. But like Windsor also has a history of actors. Like there's a lead actor on that Yellow Jackets series on Showtime. Great series, but she was born in Windsor. We have an actor that was just in the Priscilla movie that was directed by Sofia Coppola. Nick Shields, who has a feature at WIF this year, makes excellent films and of the highest caliber and highest production value. It is a weird conundrum that people just think something local means cheap, and maybe that's because there is a lot of cheap indie art being made in Windsor, but that's not exclusive to Windsor. That's everywhere because people are just learning. Some people do it as a hobby without a real passion of sort of like growing or developing into a more professional thing. And I think with film in particular, it's an expensive venture. So there are a lot of people trying to make independent films that just don't quite look like the movie, or they didn't have the money to get proper sound design, or they cast their friends and maybe didn't get community theater actors or didn't have the money to hire union actors. So there's a lot of things that can cheapen art, but I think as a blanket statement that like, oh, whatever happens here locally is just going to be crap is kind of the wrong way to think. We're just doing some marketing for WIF because WIF shows, I think they have 3 local blocks of short films plus Nick Shields' new film. And, there's lots of local documentaries that show WIF every year. They don't seem to get the attention that all the other like big famous international films that are coming to Windsor get. But whoever does attend is generally like has that reaction all the time of like, I came in expecting something lesser and was thrilled that I walked out of this seeing what can be done by people in this community.
Well, we have 4 shorts, as I recall, coming out November 1st with. Yours is one of them.
Yep.
And then 3 others. And the shorts, now, were they all local filmmakers or are they from other areas as well?
It's all local filmmakers. I'm probably the least local in that sense for this particular movie. I am the director of the film. Paula Jean Hickson is the writer. Neil Napier, and my wife Sarah Booth are the producers on it. But we shot it in Los Angeles at the time. the four of us were all relatively new to LA, and just we were four Canadians that knew each other through Sarah and Neil had worked on a TV show for the Sci-Fi Network together. And we just said, let's start making things for ourselves. Like, how else are we going to get noticed here? The other three films, which is Planted, was shot entirely in Windsor. Your Money's No Good Here was shot entirely in Windsor. And High Chase, which I'm also a producer on, was shot entirely in Windsor. And those three also 100% have a local cast, local crew. Like, everything was done here in Windsor. Yeah.
I don't think that people realize, at least people I've talked to, that Windsor as a film area, I mean, we have it all. We have beaches, we have water, we have wineries, we have, I mean, the amount of architectural differences that we have from small town in Amherstburg to downtown in Windsor. You can basically shoot just about anything.
Listen, the fact that a Hallmark Christmas movie hasn't shot here yet blows my mind, because we got gazebos, we got small town coffee shops, we got churches, and we got quaint family homes. How has it not happened?
Well, maybe that's the next project for you. There is the Hallmark Christmas movie.
It's all the other cities, like Hamilton has a booming film center, Calgary, Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto. Obviously, part of it is access to, they all have gear rental houses. They have the infrastructure of crews that live there and work there. They have sometimes regional tax incentives that are larger than the big cities. So London, Ontario opened a film office a year or two ago and have been part of an Apple series was shot there. They're doing the thing to try to attract more work. And like Windsor 100% has that potential, and maybe it will grow there. There's been an interesting thing, and I think it's pandemic related. I'm not certain though, but a lot of time you would have people graduating like University of Windsor film program, like very talented cinematographers and assistant directors and whatnot. And they would instantly move to Toronto or somewhere else where there was going to be work on the regular. And I think with the 2 or 3 years of the pandemic, there's a few years of students that stayed here. And this is just my own observation. I could be completely wrong, but have stayed here and are working here. And also it's just become so much more expensive to move to the big city and pursue your art there. And there's a really vibrant sort of, like indie commercial production scene here, indie music video scene, and indie film scene. More feature films have been shot here in the last 5 years, I think, collectively, than were ever shot in Windsor in history. So it is growing. And there's the city of Windsor has the ACHF grant now, where people are able to access a small grant funding for a short film or any art project that they're looking for. There's a lot happening. It's just always slow to kind of build the momentum to see something become a proper film center.
What advice would you give for somebody who is maybe like aspiring to kind of get into this type of field, whether it's the writing side, the directing side, maybe being a cinematographer? Like, what kind of advice would you give someone who's maybe has this idea, this dream that they want to go down this path?
Honestly, nowadays, I just call it YouTube University. There's nothing that you can't learn about the art of lighting for any particular light, or like you can't afford proper film lights. Here's how to go to Canadian Tire and spend, we'll say Home Depot because it's probably an American video, and say, spend $50 and buy this and do this, this, and this. Like, if you have any kind of smartphone, it doesn't matter what version of the iPhone it is, there's always a better camera out there. Just start shooting, because this frames and captures video and sound the same as anything else. Just start making things, put them online, be embarrassed by the flaws that you have in each project. Part of growing as an artist is failure and learning to accept the limitations that you had or the mistakes that you made so that you can better yourself. I think it's just about, and then in specific to local, get involved. Like if you want to go make films, you should be at every single one of those local shorts blocks coming up and local films here, because that's where you're going to meet your peers that are making films, and they all desperately need more people to come out and be all hands on deck and get interested in making movies. So we're always welcome. If you're a high school student, talk to that guidance counselor and say, hey, I know there's little films happening here. We just shot a documentary series last year that just started airing now, called The Boo Crew, which is all about Scarehouse Windsor and how they came to be over the last 15 years to grow into one of North America's largest and most respected haunt attractions. And we had high school and college students like involved in filming that. So anything you can do to start building your resume and just starting to practice, it's not like a sports league or something else where there's a determined organization that you can apply to and just start doing this thing. Some of it is a bit of fumbling in the dark until you meet people.
It's like putting
Well,
yourself out there, be uncomfortable, record videos and see what happens. Something might stick and sometimes it might not, but like you just gotta try.
Yeah,
and I
we
think
also have the Windsor Center for the Windsor Center for Film and Digital Arts. It has the longest title. I always mess it up. I'm sorry, Amanda, if you're watching. But I'll call it the Windsor Film and Digital Center. They have programs now. They have grant money available for certain underrepresented voices and people with disabilities to learn filmmaking. I've been teaching a couple classes there. My wife, who's a professional actor, has been teaching classes there. They have a weekly networking event for people to just meet other people in the area that might want to get involved with them and make a project. So there's a lot happening. You just have to be open to putting yourself out there and meeting people.
you got to ask questions. And speaking of asking questions, Chris has some questions for you.
I'm gonna put you through some questions rapid fire style. First
Yeah.
thing that comes to your head. Are you ready?
I think very slow, so I'm sorry if it takes a while.
Well, I think the first one maybe, hopefully, that's one might be a hard one, but I'm going to start here. What's your all-time favorite movie?
Run, Lola, Run.
Are you a morning or night person?
Nights.
What's one word that describes your directing style?
Free form.
What's your favorite song to listen
to? Motorcycle Drive-By by Third Eye Blind.
What director do you think has had the biggest impact on you that you take inspiration from?
God, why did his name just leave my brain? He made Dazed and Confused and the Before Midnight trilogy. How did that just leave my brain? Anyways, that director, he made everything. He made School of Rock. His name just failed me, but him from Austin, Texas. I can tell you everything about him except his name.
Yeah. What was your first job you ever had?
I was a Windsor Star paperboy in Amherstburg.
What's one habit that you swear by that helps you on the writing side?
Just doing it every day, like being consistent. It's like going to the gym for your brain. If you do it every day, it gets easier.
If you could wake up tomorrow with a superpower, what superpower do you want?
Flight. I think flight.
Yeah, that'd be pretty easy. Go back.
I do my own drone shots.
Yeah. What's the best directing advice that you've ever received from somebody else, like a mentor?
Oh, that's a good one. I think be bold and make the movie in your style and your voice. Everybody's seen everyone else's style, so find your way to tell a story uniquely.
When you're trying to raise money for a project, what's a big hurdle that you've had to overcome that you could impart to somebody else in terms of some wisdom?
Learn business and financing, because a lot of it comes down to tax credits and other things, and a financial plan about how the money will be recouped for an investor. They can love your project creatively all they want and all the movie stars you plan to attach to it. But if you are a producer who does not understand the economics of filmmaking and the ability to sell a film, then you really are standing on nothing.
All right, last question. If you could go back in time 10, 15 years, what kind of advice would you give to your younger self?
Drop the ego, stop being an idiot, and just get to work and make your movies.
There you go. Nice and direct.
Oh, and is it Richard Linklater?
Richard Linklater, of course.
Yes,
I could see his face in my brain. I just couldn't.
I do that all the time.
See, when you get put to the test, it can be hard. You kind of things that just fall out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
So next for you, I know currently, as we've said, you've got the shorts at WIFT on November 1st. But what's next? What's up?
Oh man, it's a small laundry list. We're shooting season 2 of The Boo Crew, our docuseries about Scarehouse currently. That's where I'll be tonight. If you don't know Scarehouse Windsor, get in there before October, because it is the most fun you can have at Halloween in Windsor. 4 different haunted mazes. Like it's just incredible. I'm editing a sci-fi film called Primary that I made with my friend Sean. It's about a band on tour that discovers a new color and how that color sort of changes planet Earth. And then I have Sydney versus Sean that we shot in February in LA. I was just out there for a little bit of additional shooting. It stars, we have Janelle Parrish from Pretty Little Liars and T.R. Knight from Grey's Anatomy, and Ryan Powers that you've seen in She-Hulk and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are in that film. So I'm editing both of those right now. So my whole year has been basically editing, just getting all of these projects ready to go. And then next year I have a new horror film coming together that, like, I'm not going to say a timeline, because the minute you do that, things derail. That's the universe working
Absolutely.
against you. But next year I will be back on set making a new feature film.
And is there any films locally that you're going to be working on, or are these all outside the area?
No, two of the films that could go, it'll be one or the other for next year, is definitely shooting in Windsor. I'm attached to a few projects outside of the city, like in Los Angeles and whatnot, but it's we're definitely shooting the next one local.
Okay.
Now, with so many different projects, things that you're working on, how do you keep it all going? And especially if there's any competing timelines that might kind of conflict.
There's constant overlap. I honestly, like, you asked what superpower I would want. The superpower I have is ADHD, and being able to, like, it only works as my superpower if my plate is so full that I don't have a choice to not do all of the things. So it's honestly the calendar and the iPhone was the best blessing that came out like 10 years ago, to be able to schedule things and set reminders. And it's just having to wake up every day and chip away at the projects and just trying to learn how to, like, divide my time. And this year I've pushed the limit of some things, having to force myself to delay a few projects because of being a little bit too ambitious in the scope
Like
of what I wanted
overcommitting
to do.
kind of sometimes maybe,
Yeah.
or
And it's an unpredictable business where, like, I could get a call tomorrow saying, "Hey, can you fly here and shoot this music video?" I'm like, I got to eat at the same time I'm working on my little passion project. So there are things like that, like expected delays, I think, in the film industry sometimes.
I have ADHD as well, so my brain never stops. Never stops. It's always constant. I struggle with the balance of things.
Yeah.
So I hear you on that point. It allows you to have a lot of creativity, but you've got to really put the brakes on things sometimes.
But I also, like, people do often tell me, like, "Oh my God, your output is incredible. You do all this stuff." I'm like, there are also times where for 48 hours, I just, like, allow myself to veg on the couch and binge a Netflix series or something, because I just, like, I don't think you can do that pace, like, all
Constantly.
day, every day. Cause the last series, the Boo Crew, I was doing 18 hours a day of editing. I was literally falling asleep at my keyboard, go to bed, wake up, shower, repeat. Sometimes not shower, just repeat to meet the deadline. I'll never let a deadline pass. I'm not afraid of long hours and hard work, but I know that you also risk burning yourself out entirely.
Well, I'll tell you, if you ever need an overweight, actor, you just give me a call and I'll come and stutter on stage for you.
Just by saying that, I'm going to have to write something now. This is how independent filmmakers work. They go, what resources do I have, and how
there
do I
you go.
turn this into advantages? Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
well, Gavin, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you for taking the time to share more of your journey, everything that you've got going on here with Rapid Fire Insights, man. This was awesome. We're very much looking forward to all the continued success that you're having here.
Try guys, try to come out Wednesday night and support these local films. It'd be amazing. There are other blogs, but Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. It's at the Chrysler Theater. Tickets are on the WIF website. And it means the world to independent filmmakers when you come out and support, because it just helps the community grow. It helps inspire us to keep going. And, by supporting my film, like Are You My Mommy, that I made with Neil and Paul and Sarah, supporting the films that Ken and Jacob made that are in the block, or Rawad and Shane, you're not just supporting those key people that are always listed as the director, the writer, the producer. It's everyone who worked on the film. That's the restaurants that provided catering locally, the other businesses that let their doors open to be a location. You're really supporting a huge group of people in the community just by watching 3 or 4 short films in one night.
And real quick, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do it?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. My phone number is very public out there in the world. I'm very easy to track down, but most sturdy and steady is just my email, which is gavinmichaelbooth@gmail.com.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much, Gavin, for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Happy to be here.